What's going on, guys? It's Adonis, and Flash episode 18 of season 2 just got done. Let's talk about some of my favorite moments. So we finally get a Zoom backstory, who Zoom actually is, and I knew it, Hunter Zolomon, and I'm so glad they actually utilized this character in this series. Definitely a different backstory from the comics, but let's talk about it because it's kind of interesting. How they tied it with Barry was they almost had a similar upbringing as far as they both had their mother killed, but his mother was actually killed by his father, which actually had the same hat that Jay Garrick actually had, which is really interesting. Now, the thing that I'm really confused about is, not necessarily confused about, but he basically created Jay Garrick Flash as this, this hero, quote unquote, so he could, play that to become this villain that takes it away from everybody, which is really interesting. I liked how he was kind of playing both sides. I'm still curious to know if there's another Jay Garrick from another Earth that has that is the Flash, and maybe that's who's inside of the Iron Mask. They didn't really touch on that, but as far as Hunter Zolomon's upbringing, he becomes a serial killer after that. He watches his dad kill his mother. He goes and becomes basically an orphan, and then from there just kind of goes on a killing spree, which is crazy. But I liked it, and he even talked about me and you. You could have become me, and in that time, in that scenario, it kind of actually is relative. It's actually kind of true. So, if Barry didn't have Joe there, he may have turned evil. So he had somebody to turn to, and Hunter didn't. He just was kind of left by himself, abandoned. Nobody from his family wanted him. So I liked how they kind of gave like this whole like yin and yang to the same kind of scenario for them. So I like that a lot. And obviously it's a different Jay Garrick that we're used to from the comics. Obviously it's not like that Flash origin story for Jay Garrick. But it's cool how they tied it into this. Now, some of the time travel stuff with Jay Garrick going back into time, telling his new guy, his past guy to come from the past to the future and all of that, is still a little confusing. Obviously, a time remnant is not necessarily going to affect his timeline, but it's really interesting how that works, and if the paradoxes still kind of align with, if he ends up killing him in the future, does that not allow him to go back to kill him? So there's a lot of paradoxes there that I don't really want to get into, but that's what they use to explain it in the story. But I really liked Hunter Zolomon's backstory, and I'm glad they're utilizing this character. Now, in the scene where obviously he tricks, Barry into giving him his Speed Force, which is obviously, it sucks, but that scene was awesome. The whole cosmic treadmill, siphoning the Speed Force from him, I thought that was cool. But that whole part where Hunter was explaining himself, explaining his story, how he did what he did, I thought it was awesome. And you saw like the character that plays Jay. I don't know his name. If you know the actor's name that plays Jay Garrick / Hunter Zolomon, let me know in the comment section. But he did a phenomenal job playing like this kind of psychopath. I thought it was dope. Like, we are used to seeing him playing this honorable, honest speedster, and now he's playing this character as well. So really interesting how that works. But yeah, there's just so many questions now on like, he was telling me he had talked to his past self, and he was like, I needed to convince him that this is what we needed to do, and he thought the plan was genius, so he wanted to go with it. So it's just really interesting how that worked. And obviously, if the past guy was with them, this whole time, obviously Zoom would know what happened in those interactions, and teaching him how to throw lightning, his relationship with Caitlyn, all that stuff. Even though he wasn't there presently, that's his past self. So he would definitely have knowledge base of what his past self was actually doing, which is interesting how that worked. So yeah, really liked Hunter Zolomon in this episode. Now, the other big thing, obviously, was vibe. Cisco, his character was awesome, and he definitely had a lot of Star Wars references. So if you're a Star Wars fan, that was a cool episode to kind of have these Vader references for Cisco, which are relevant for sure, especially with the ability that he has, being able to, vibrations and frequencies of different universes and being able to open portals, which is sick. So that's cool how they utilized that. And then obviously Wells came to help and assist with, the vibe glasses from Earth 2 to retrofit them for Cisco on Earth 1. So I liked how they utilized that as well. I really think that Cisco as a character is now developing more. Like we're getting to see a little bit more than just the snarky, comic driven Cisco. It's more of like, hey, he has a lot more complexity to him now, with him kind of getting these powers, and he's really understanding how powerful he actually is and how powerful he can become. So I like that part of the episode as well. Now, one of the other things that I'm really curious about is what they're going to do with Wally. Obviously, Zoom abducted Wally to, obviously get the Speed Force from Barry. Now, I wonder if this does anything now to Wally. What is his relationship going to be with Joe and Barry now, knowing that, I'm pretty sure he now knows that Barry is the Flash. And if he didn't know, obviously he was kind of disguising his voice, but there's got to be something there that he's going to know, he's going to pick up. And does he get Speed Force ability? That's going to be interesting, because he's been around now a couple of speedsters, seeing them, and we keep hearing them say, drive fast, get out of here, run. Like they keep having like these little like Easter eggs when they reference Wally. Hey, we're gonna watch Formula One. There's all these like references for Wally as far as him, being a speedster, or at least the whole fast reference. So I'm really curious to see what they do with Wally. If they're gonna introduce him to the Speed Force or vice versa in this season. If you guys have theories about that, let me know in the comment section as well. And then finally, we have Barry. Now, Barry's arc in this episode was awesome. He gets the tachyon particle machine, whatever he has, starts running fast. They do like kind of like a obstacle course for him to run through, and you see him go interdimensional, right? He jumps through dimensions. It kind of goes back to where he was in the Supergirl episode, and then he comes back out of it. He was like, oh, I'm back. So he didn't tell them that he went to this other universe to see Supergirl. And I think for myself, that was one of those things that I was a little confused about. Like, they were trying to figure out how he can jump portals, but he already did it. So it was weird to me that he didn't bring it up. It was like, hey, I just went to another universe. It wasn't Earth 2. It was a different universe that had none of you in it. I met this superhuman Supergirl. She was awesome. And I came back to this one. And it was one of those things where if he did it by accident to there, obviously, but he now did it on purpose to come back to Earth 1, he should be able to transfer Earths without the need of Cisco. So I thought that was one of those plot holes, for at least for me, that I was a little confused about. But other than that, it was dope to see him increase his speed and now outrunning Zoom because of that tachyon machine. And then obviously Wells miniaturized it behind the Flash symbol. So I like that a lot. It's going to be really interesting now to see how Barry gets his Speed Force back. We know at the end of the Arrow season, at the whole gravesite, Barry races to there. So I'm really curious to see how he gets his Speed Force back. Is it all gone? Is it something that just gets depleted and he has to kind of build himself back up? Does the tachyon machine help him get that speed back? Because I know Wells had an issue with that as well. When he came back, he had no Speed Force to draw from because Flash did not exist in that timeline. So he had to create the Flash. So I'm curious to see, what happens with that. Do we bring another speedster in? Does he siphon Speed Force from Zoom because he's in that timeline? Does he have to go to Earth 2? There's a lot of questions there. But let me know your guys' theories on Barry and his abilities in the comments below. And if you guys like this review, give me a thumbs up, show me some love. And if you haven't subscribed to the channel yet, you're gonna wanna do that. Hit that APP logo in the corner to subscribe to the channel, or if you're on mobile, hit the subscribe button. All right, guys, till next time. See you later. Thanks again for watching, guys. If you guys like this video and want to see more content like this, go ahead and click that APP logo in the corner to subscribe to the channel. Also, if you guys want to chat with me on social media, go ahead and like my Facebook page, Absolutely Tech, and follow me on Instagram and Twitter at Adonis_AteamLV. All right, guys, till next time. See you later.